Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about questions you should be asking your wedding photographer. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I want to get right into it. These are questions that I feel like brides should be asking their wedding photographers. Meaning, when a bride reaches out to me, it's either their first wedding or they're younger and they don't know what they're doing because they've never had anybody, they've never been married before, so they don't know what they're doing when it comes to this. So it's like a blank slate, which is okay. It's kind of good to be that way. Sometimes people, once in a while, I'll have a bride and groomer come in that has like a bunch of questions, and you can tell they've done their research on it. So this is for both. Research on questions is great, but the right questions make more difference. Meaning, what would you do in this scenario? Those are not questions because every venue is different. So right off the bat, number one question as a bride and groom, as a wedding couple, you should be asking your wedding photographer is, how long have you been photographing? How long have you been doing weddings on your own? Not including second shooting, but how many weddings have you been doing on your own as a primary shooter? To me, that is the absolute number one question. If you have a low budget as a wedding and you're looking for somebody that is newer to photography and looking to build their portfolio, then that is okay to go with somebody that is less experienced when it comes to that. Because every bride, groom, wedding couple needs to figure out what's best fit for them when it comes to the photography. But number one question is, how long have you been photographing and how many weddings have you done on your own as a primary shooter? That should be the number one question. And if you're photographing at something like the log cabin, you might not be wanting somebody that's only been doing one or two weddings last year. Another question to add to that, how many weddings do you do average per year and how many years? That is a good indicator of somebody with experience. Here's an example. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen of a wedding that I did that was completely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful venue up in Sturbridge, beautiful venue, and they picked it because of the historic house and the outside landscape and everything else like that, and it rained all day long. This picture will show you what experience comes into play. Having this in my back pocket was one of their favorite images from the day. We got pictures inside, we got pictures in between the rain in front of the building and stuff like that. But this is, for me, the epic image I walked away from that signifies their day. So that's number one. All right, number two. Can you show me some examples of your past weddings? Any photographer that cannot show you images from past weddings, and I'm talking about 5-10 images, what I did here. You really should be not, as a photographer, unless it's a public gallery. I show images that I pull out from my galleries to show to new wedding couples that are coming my way about things that I can do, kind of thing like that. You do not show full galleries of somebody else's wedding. There's a very fine line in there unless you have permission, unless you own the rights to them, and unless, there's a couple of scenarios that come in. Some brides don't mind you sharing that. For me, it's more of a privacy gallery because my galleries are delivered privately to them. They can distribute how they want as a wedding couple. But for me, it's more about, I don't want to do that to them. I don't want to show Aunt Susie on the dance floor if Aunt Susie did not want to be on the dance floor, even though I thought it was an epic image. So as a wedding couple, you want to be asking your wedding photographer, can you show me examples of your weddings? All right, number three, how would you describe your wedding style? This is tricky, but style comes down to, in my opinion, it's how you shoot and how you edit. Two things. There's two factors in style. Style is how you shoot, meaning I will do some things to manipulate or create a moment, but a lot of times I'm just waiting in anticipation for the moment to happen organically. Okay, so if I don't see something happening, but the opportunity is there, the sun is right there, the moment is right there, I will kind of introduce and do something about that. So style is like photojournalistic style, where you're kind of standing back, candid style, a little bit more standing back, and a lot more hands-on is also a style when it comes to being a lot more involved with staging everything. And I feel like as a good wedding photographer, you need to have the balance of all styles. A little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, help motivate, maneuver, and create moments that you want, kind of thing like that, and then keeping that photojournalistic style when it comes to that. Part 2 of that is editing. Light and airy, dark and moody, all of those things. And truthfully, I do not talk to any of my brides until they've already seen my website. Meaning if somebody recommended me and they call me up, hey, I got your number from so-and-so, that's great, go to my website. Because if you don't like what you see on the website, you're not gonna like what I have to offer, and I don't want you to waste your time. I don't want to waste the bride's time. So style comes down to photojournalistic style and how you shoot and or how you edit. So as a wedding couple, you should be asking, but if you go to their website, you're gonna see their style, to be honest with you. Number 4, what packages do you offer and what's included? Well, once you go through my questionnaire and then once we have a conversation, I send you back package options, and then we talk about which one best fits your day and budget, and each one includes different things. So that is a question for a wedding couple after you fill out the initial consultation and kind of thing like that, and then you'll be able to get a gist of that. But you should be knowing what you're getting for your money. Not just, hey, my packages start at $2,500. You as a wedding couple, you want to know, what do you get for that $2,500? All right, so that's number 4. All right, number 5, are you familiar with the wedding venue? Have you shot there before? I get asked this all the time. My answer to that is, that is a great question. Take a look at this picture right here. And I'll show them an image that I did. And they're like, wow, that's beautiful. And I say to them, I never shot there before until that day. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. It's great to have experience shooting at a particular wedding that you photograph often. I'm a preferred vendor on many venues in my area, but I like the fact of going to one place that I've never been to before because it's a clean slate for me. I do look at the website to see what other places they have to offer, but I always tell my brides and grooms that if this is where we're gonna go, we can do what other people have done in that spot that's on the other people's website and stuff like that, but let's make it you. Let's personalize it to you. Let's make it like, however, let's take what they have as a foundation and build on that. Let's do like a spin or a dip or something else in that same place so you get the iconic place, tree or whatever it is, or water or whatever it is, but at the same time being still a little bit, do something different in that. So I like when they ask if I photographed there before. I'm gonna tell you this as a wedding couple, that should not be your deciding factor to pick a person to photograph your wedding, whether they photographed at that place or not. It should be the fact of, if you can see the creativity in a website and you see the creativity, I will be perfectly honest with them and I will say, I can stand you in front of a brick wall and I can make an epic image out of that by adding lights, putting in RGBs, or doing something. I can be creative in doing something. So that should not be the deciding factor whether somebody gets hired if they've been at that venue or not. Now, if that's what you want, or you want somebody that knows the good places in that venue, we scout it out ahead of time. Oh, let's do this spot, let's do this spot, let's do this spot. How about this spot and this time? So that's also an option too. All right, let's get going here. Number 6, how do you handle, this should be a question you should be asking your wedding photographer. How do you adjust and accommodate for low light? Sometimes in a church, there is no flash allowed. Do you have lenses smaller than f4? Now, they're not going to know what that is, but you want to see, hey, this is a darker church, this is a darker venue. What do you do when it comes to that? For me, we add light, either on-camera flash, off-camera flash, and or I shoot prime lenses. So 1.2, 1.4, 1.8. I've got a 24 prime, 35 prime, 50 prime, 85 prime. So I have a range of variety that low light conditions can very easily be accounted for when it comes to that. So that's a question as a wedding couple you should be asking your photographer is, what do you do in low light situations? And then show them a couple of examples if they have them as a photographer. All right, number 7, can we meet in person? I love to shake hands. I'll talk to them on the phone. I'll get all their information. We'll have a nice conversation on the phone. Hey, before you make your final decision, let's grab a coffee. Come to my studio that I have in Holyoke. Let's just grab a coffee. All my books are in front of me. All my work's on the wall, like you can see me behind me over here. So when a bride sits down, this is what they see. They see an atmosphere of creativity. That's what I want them to make their decision based on hiring me. Number 8, do you work with a second shooter or an assistant? And the answer for me is both. Sometimes I bring a third shooter. I always bring a second shooter in my 8-hour package, and my 6-hour package, you can add a second shooter. So a second shooter has a great job of, as a primary, I'm always focusing on posing and being in the front of the bride and couple, and I do not have the ability, capability, or opportunity to do candids of anything else happening around the background. Having a second shooter, which means they can do guys' pictures while you're doing the girls' pictures. So if the second shooter is important, make sure you ask if that's included in one of your packages, because sometimes they don't. So be aware of that. Number 9, what is your approach to, this is a question you should be asking your wedding photographer. What is your approach to candid images? My answer to that is during a cocktail hour. If they are mingling, talking, I'm standing back with a 7200 and just in the background, just getting people laughing and giggling and having a conversation over a drink or an hors d'oeuvre. The fun part about that is sometimes you get that shot of somebody having that, piece of shrimp cocktail and you got that bite right on the end of that, which is a funny picture to add to the gallery and send to them as Uncle Bob's, chomping with, 2 shrimps hanging out of his mouth. But that's always a good part of that. So that's my approach to that, is a very, very stand way back, long lens, and just watch for opportunities. And if it's in a room or outside on a patio, I'm working all 4 corners on the distance in the middle and what's happening in the middle. And every once in a while, if I could tell the mom is talking to her 3 sisters, the mother of the bride is talking to her 3 sisters, I'll take that candid shot, but I will also walk up and say, hey, let's get a shot of all 3 of you guys together, 4 of you guys together, click, 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 and then I step right back again, and then I go right back to my candid shots from there. So that's my approach to candid shots. Number 10. Number 10 is you have the right to know what you're getting for your images in your package, what your package includes, and then the biggest question is, how soon after the wedding do I get my images? That is a very, very big question when it comes to that. So we've gone through 10 of them already. No particular order except for number 1. In my contract, it states you get your images, you get your online gallery and your USB and whatever's included in your package when it comes to that. 4 to 5 weeks before, after the wedding date. So what I do in my weddings is I have it in my contract that you get whatever's included in that package, you will get back delivered to you within 4 to 5 weeks after the wedding. That gives me time to go home and edit, back up. If I've got 3 weddings in one weekend, I got back up, and then I start editing in the order in which they were taking. And then I will deliver to them within the 4, and it's all in my calendar. I mark things on my calendar about how long it's going to be for when. I got to deliver by X, deliver by X, deliver by X. So that's a very important question, is when are you going to get your deliverables back to you? It's in the contract. And as a wedding couple, if your contract, their contract, your contract you sign with them says in 3 weeks you're going to get XXX, it's been 4 weeks and you haven't gotten something, please reach out. There might have been a medical issue. There might have been a death in somebody's family. Life happens for photographers also. So just check in and saying, hey, I've had this happen before. 2 days after the wedding was done, I was asked, when am I getting my images? go to the contract that says 4 to 5 weeks. So if after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and your contract says 3 weeks, if you're at 3 weeks and your contract said 2 weeks and you haven't seen anything or heard anything, reach out to the photographer and just say, hey, what's going on? Just checking in, is everything okay? So that is my 10 tips that I wish, and you should be asking your wedding photographer when you're sitting down, before the consultation happens, when you first reach out to them. These are the 10 questions that you should be asking them all the way down. First, starting with, how many weddings have you done on your own, not as a second shooter? How many weddings have you done on your own as a primary shooter? And how many years have you been shooting? Because somebody can tell you that they've been shooting for 15 years, but they've only done 2 weddings last year. That's the stuff you need to know. How often? I want to know what your average is for how many weddings you've been doing per year for the past X years. And what is your average per year for weddings? And how many weddings have you done on your own as a primary shooter? That should be your number one question, because you need experience. Somebody that can know and adjust on the fly when it comes to that. So very, very important, all the way down to 10. So that is my 10 questions that I wish every bride would ask a wedding photographer. And these are questions you should be asking your photographer. So thank you guys for coming back to the channel. Appreciate your time. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Remember to smile more, because it sure does hurt less. Peace.